Hey, this is Dancing Rabbit, and I am so glad that you decided to tune in today on this second of the 31 Days of the Horned God. Today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the origin of the term the Horned God. If you go back in history and into prehistory, as much as one can go into prehistory, you don't find a deity called the Horned God. The term is a modern synchronistic term which basically originated with Gerald Gardner, the founder of Wicca, back in the 1940s and 1950s. Now, it's fashionable today in a lot of pagan circles to kind of diss Gerald Gardner, and he just basically threw a bunch of stuff together and made up the whole rest of the stuff. And so it's not as authentic as other forms of paganism. I tend to disagree somewhat with that. You've got to understand that Mr. Gardner was working in the 1940s, 1950s with a whole lot less resources than we have today. I mean, black and white television hadn't been invented, much less the computer or the internet. And so what he was working with is his memories of his experiences with the New Forest Coven, which was probably a family tradition British witchcraft group, and what he could do in the little bit of library research that he was able to do. He got creative, which is what the original pagans back thousands of years ago did. I mean, somebody had to come up with these concepts first. They haven't just always been there. So, what Gerald Gardner was looking at was the idea that there was this pan-European pre-Christian witchcraft cult. And I think that Margaret Murray, of about the same era, a little after, was onto the same trail. I think that they were partially right and partially wrong. But this is something that we know now. It was not something that they were able to know back then, like I said, because of the limited resources that they had. But the best that he could find about this pre-Christian witch cult was that they worshipped Mother Goddess, and also that there was a horned god. And a lot of the horned god testimony comes from testimony under torture during the Inquisition, during the burning times. So I'm sure he thought about, meditated, talked with some of his associates about it extensively, and the coven that he founded, which one of the members, Dorian Valiente, was very instrumental in some of the early Wiccan liturgy and the early Wiccan poetry. For example, the Charge of the Goddess. Anyway, it really began to come together with some of the other beliefs that Gerald Gardner had. For example, the idea of a duotheistic type theology, a God who is all gods and the goddess who is all goddesses. The goddesses are just different aspects of this one triple goddess. it made a lot of sense in what he was doing in reestablishing what was not only a nature religion but a fertility cult. Most higher forms of life, animals and plants, reproduce with male and female coming together. And so he saw this in the grand scheme of things, in nature, the universe as a whole, as the god and the goddess coming together. And so began the myth of the Wheel of the Year. Now, when I use the word myth, I'm not using it disparagingly, as if this is something that's made up, it's not to be believed. A myth is a sacred story that tells in symbolic language truths that can't be expressed directly in plain old logical language. It's symbolic, it's archetypical, it's poetic. So the idea of a god, a horned god, and a mother goddess went real well with what he was trying to do, and it worked for him. And it worked for his coven, it's worked for Gardnerian traditional Wiccans ever since. And with Raymond Buckland coming to America and opening up Wicca to non-coven, to solitaries, and to people who are not in an initiated lineage. And you can say that solitary eclectic Wicca is not really Wicca. And I don't want to argue about terms, because it doesn't really matter. My point is, it's a little bit like Christianity. There's Roman Catholicism, and there's the various Protestant denominations. There's traditional Wicca, and there's the various solitary, self-initiated, eclectic, non-traditional Wiccas, or neo-Wiccas, if you will. So this is the origin, at least the modern origin, of the idea of the horned god. And as I came into paganism and was introduced to it, it was this version of paganism, a sort of eclectic neo-Wicca with a real strong feminist twist to it, through Starhawk and Susanna Budapest and the various feminist Unitarian groups that I visited and was associated with. As I've been a pagan for a while longer, I've begun to look at it, at least on alternate Tuesdays and Thursdays, a little differently, and look at the specific horned gods in history and in prehistory, and call them more by name rather than just a generic, hey you horned god, come into my circle. So that's about all that I can tell you about Wicca and the horned god. I'm sure that those of you who are initiated traditional Wiccans know a whole lot more about the details of this than I do, and perhaps some of the details that I think I know are actually incorrect. So I don't mind at all reply videos and comments to this. In fact, I welcome them. I'm going to upload this and set it as accepting video responses automatically. Anyway, before I ramble on and this becomes too long, I want to say thanks for watching. Thanks to about the 5 or 6 of you who've already mirrored the first day video and have sent the email in entering the contest. I think that this is going to just grow and grow, and by the end of it I may have to quit my day job just to keep up with printing out emails and filling out cards. But that would be a good problem to have. So, till tomorrow, this is Dancing Rabbit saying peace to you and yours.